Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. I am your host, Tiberius, and today we're going to be talking about Ops levels 25 through 27. So we'll continue this new player tutorial series that I've been working on here for a little while. Just finished about 3 months of playing. This is coming out like a couple days later than I wanted it to, but we had a holiday here in the U.S., and that kind of threw off my timeline a little bit. But I just crossed over the 3-month threshold. This is I am Ops level 28 on this account, so I got through 25 through 27, pushed to 28 before the current Battle Pass started about a week ago. And then this week I've been doing upgrades at level 28 to all my buildings. I could actually push to 29 if I wanted to, but I'm not going to do that just yet. Just sort of waiting for good material spend events, and I do want to get some of these other generators. Really, it's really more of the warehouses and vaults that I need to get caught up, because the game's going to make me do it anyway, and I don't want to get stuck at an in-between level. I want to be able to just keep moving through, just because eventually I'm going to get to the point where dailies at like 30 and 32 are harder for me to accomplish, and I want to be able to get to 34 at a reasonable pace, so I can get to that epic ship, which is kind of the whole purpose of this, is to see how quickly we can go free to play to the epic. And I don't want to get stuck and get delayed with that when I'm ready to move. So 25 through 27 is what we're going to talk about today in this section. If you haven't already checked out some of the previous videos in this series, they cover everything starting at Ops 1 all the way up to where we presently are. So 25 does unlock some new things for you. Just pull up my notes here real quick. There's no new buildings that you get. Unless it's something that they add to the game, like we just got the subspace relay added this week as part of the new arc. This is a new building. We don't know what the sourcing is going to be yet for the relay upgrades. I'm assuming these will have something to do with the incursion events that are going to start in a week or so. But for future players coming into the game after this, we don't know what the sourcing is going to be in order to get these upgrades, whether they'll be something you have to buy, whether it's something that will get daily like we do with the Treasury. It kind of would have to make sense, right? They'd have to give you something like the Treasury or the Exocomp Factory and give you little bits day by day. But I can say that the number required, 750, is a lot higher, so unless they make that a thing where they give you a lot more. The Exocomp Factory currently gives me 48 a day, and I need 125 to get a chip, or to get an Exocomp. 125 chips get me an Exocomp and either 10 or 16 of these servos. It would then take, 10 or 12 turn-ins to get enough to be able to do a building level upgrade. Takes a little while to do. Same thing with the Treasury. These optical diodes, I get like 12 a day, so it's 10 days to do an upgrade. So we'll have to see if they scale the new building appropriately, or what the deal is with the subspace relay building for how these are sourced. But obviously some very nice benefits from it, so this would be a big boost to new players, or newer players just reaching these levels, if you happen to start the game a little later, or just happen to hit Ops 25 later on in the game, how to get the stuff for this building active. We'll just have to wait and see. But there's no new buildings, like I mentioned, in this section that you get access to and unlocked. At this point in the game, you pretty much have everything built. The only one exception to that comes through research. At Ops level 27, you can build Defense Platform D. You can only get it to level 1 while it's at Ops 27, because you can't upgrade the defense platform until you upgrade the corresponding dry dock. And for some reason, you can't build the dry dock until 28. So there's research for that. I'll show you that in a second in the research tree. But yeah, I'm not sure why they did these this way. You get the dry dock at 28. You can build the gun at 27, but you can only get the gun to level 1. Still worth building. It is an extra little thing for base defense, even though it's not doing a lot of damage. It's one more thing your opponent has to shoot at to win the fight, and it's one more thing that we'll be shooting at them the entire time because it's D, so they go in order when they're attacking. It'll be the last thing that they kill. So even if it's only doing, if these are doing 50,000 and this one's only doing 5,000, it's still a little bit of something. Maybe it makes a difference in a close fight. If the fight goes 4 or 5 rounds, that's an extra, well, I'd say 25,000 points of damage, but guns tend to shoot more than once in each round, so it could be an extra 50 or 75,000 points of damage, depending how long the fight goes. So it's still worth building, even though you can't upgrade it. Let's go look at our research tree. So those are sourced the same way in the station tree. Defense platform is right here. You can upgrade that at 27. After that, you'll have to wait till 36 to get your next one. And then when you do get to 28, you can do Fleet Commander and get the extra dry dock. Again, these are a little backwards. You get the next dry dock at 39, but you get the defense platform at 36. So there'll be a couple levels there where you'll have just a level 1 platform for E. Excuse me. But as long as we're in the research tree, let's continue and talk about the big changes. First big change is going to be the territory tree. This unlocks at Ops 25. Now, there are a limited number of things that you can do at this time. All of these things require, let me look at what I can actually do, require ISO emulsions in some level to obtain. You'll notice these have little dots and stuff here. A handful of these researches, especially as we get further over, all require one of these different particles in order to also do them. The top row here, these are quantum particles. The middle row here are phantom particles. The bottom row here are Surax particles. Further on in the tree, you'll also see things up here. These require Metreon particles. These ones way out here. Metreon particles are only found from having, all of these particles are only found by having the right territories. And your alliance has to turn on the buff for those territories. So if I go into my alliance here real quick and I look at my territories and the different zones that we own, you can see what the different services are that you get for owning it, but they also do have a cost to activate all of these. So right now we've got, like this territory here has a phantom generator. So this turns on phantom particles at this cost. This is the advanced one. This would be the second one. So if you already had a basic one, like we do here, this phantom particle generator, this guy's on. This one just costs, the basic one just costs 1 star ISO emulsion. This is a byproduct of refining Isogen, which opens in the refinery at 25. We'll look at that in a second. And then if your alliance wanted to have a second one active, so you could get 200 of these a day, because each refine gets you 100 particles. You can do it once a day. It only costs 5 Isogen to do, so very, very cheap. And then if you wanted to be able to get 200 a day, you'd have to turn on the advanced generator. So then you could have both active. And this one does cost a little bit more in resources. This costs 2 star as well as these emitters paying for the service. So depending on what territories your alliance has, will tell you which of these particles you're able to get. The only other way to get particles would be to have a meridian. We'll look at my higher level account for this one. If you have a meridian in your refinery, in your territory tab, you would have this ISO emulsion to ISO resin conversion. There's a couple of researches, mostly PvP based, that require ISO resin. And when you're doing this refine and you're converting ISO emulsion, you get very small quantities of these Surax particles. This is my maxed meridian at tier 9. I only get 12 per chest. So I'm getting 24 a day. And some of these researches will take hundreds. So it would take a few days of saving up if my alliance didn't have a territory that gave me access to these particles. It's kind of why it's important when you do have a territory, whatever it is, even if you don't need them, just stock up on them because you will need thousands of these particles throughout the course of leveling up. Even if I just look at some of my higher level researches on my 45 account, looking at some of these 400, 480, 480. So these are like 500 a piece. And these are going to be the same. These are like 500 a piece of each particle. So if I'm getting 100 a day, it would take me 5 days just to do this one research level. Now, if my alliance doesn't have this and I have to do these iso emulsions and I'm only getting 24 a day, well, now it's like 3 weeks to save up enough. So whenever your alliance has a territory that has access to one of these particles, do it. Turn it on, get the buff, get the particles, save them, because like I said, you're going to need thousands of them throughout the course of your game, and you won't always have access to the territories. I believe it's physically impossible to have access to all 3 simultaneously. There might be 1 or 2 little spots where you can overlap your territories just right in the middle of the map somewhere, but those are usually the ones that are a little more highly contested. So chances are you're most likely going to have just 1 at a time, and then you'll have to sort of move a little bit. Maybe you'll end up with a second one, and you'll have 2 at a time. But it would be incredibly rare to have all 3. So if you have access to it, make sure to get them. I talked about these researches. Let's go back to the smaller account for now. I talked about these researches. Wrong tree. Also needing this iso emulsion. So there are 3 different types of isogen that you can mine: 1 star, 2 star, and 3 star. They all have conversions in the refinery. Pretty sure I did mine already for today. Right here in the territory tab. 1 star, 2 star, and 3 star. If your alliance has access to mining them, 1 star nodes are everywhere in the game. They're not just in territories. There's a variety of systems in Eclipse space. That's the big purple sphere, where you can get 1 star isogen. So if we go look in Eclipse space, the big purple stuff, there's a handful of 1 star nodes in each of these systems. I think we've touched on this in a previous video about being able to get some of this stuff. The mining rate on it, not bad, a couple thousand an hour. There's research you can do to improve on that. The other place you can also get that, I'm just going to move this ship real fast, reset this node. Just outside of territory space, there are also a couple of other systems. Right here, these also have 1 star isogen nodes, and there's a few up here as well that these also have 1 star isogen nodes. These are systems that nobody owns, and there's a lot more nodes here. There's a lot more nodes as opposed to like the 6 or 8 that are in each of the Eclipse space. These nodes here are definitely a bit bigger, and there's a lot more of them. And this area is a lot less heavily trafficked, shall we say. Eclipse space, there's people constantly going in and out, killing Eclipse hostiles, doing armadas, that kind of stuff, traveling through there looking for bases to attack. Down here, not so much. So if you don't have access to a territory with 1 star, this is a good place to come for that. 2 star and 3 star resources, isogen, you have to have territory in order to mine it. There's a number of them across the map that you can get. The other option, of course, is to just go OPC hunting. You just fly a ship with some cargo capacity to it through enemy alliance systems, Go looking for miners that people have left on their 2 and 3 star nodes that are now over their protected cargo. You kill them, you take their excess, now you have resources that you can mine. As I mentioned, there is research that you can do to improve the mining of each one. When you first start out with your refines, the 1 star refine costs fairly low. I think it's probably like 10 or 15,000 Isogen, a 1 star to do this. You get about 200 to 300 of the ISO emulsion. The 2 star one costs about 20,000. The 3 star one costs about 40,000 a day. Excuse me. In order to complete it and get the ISO emulsion stuff. Even though it says, it looks here on the graphic like there's a 2 star and a 3 star ISO emulsion, they are all the same. They all go into the same pool. And you use those to do these different researches. Looking at some of them, they're not that expensive. This one's 400 ISO emulsion, so it's not overly expensive in the early stages. So only getting like 200 a day isn't bad. To give you an idea of what they scale up to, this is, Ops level 45 again. This is, tier 11, tier 12. Now it's asking for 184,000. But I'm also getting a lot more Isogen per day. I'm getting about 50,000 a day doing my refines. So I'm spending more Isogen, I'm getting more ISO emulsion, but it still takes, 4 or 5 days. Most of these are higher than that. These are all like 120s. Some of these up here are like 215. Some of these out here are, like 300,000 or 400,000 to do some of these. 276, etc. So it will scale up as you do, but in the lower levels, it shouldn't be too taxing. There is an ISO mining ship. It's called the Meridian. We'll talk about that when we get to our Starship section. I'll circle back to that. But these researches have very good buffs. This is a very good tree, and it is definitely worth investing some time in. So you've got, right off the bat, base warp speed to improve your warp speed traveling to places. But it does cost some of these particles, which is why it's good to stock up on these when you have access to them. These are for mining for 1 star and 2 star Isogen. Further out here, there's also one for mining 3 star Isogen to improve the rate of that, to make that faster. But these are good ones too. Enhanced defenses. This improves all of the defensive stats on your ships. Your dodge, your shield deflection, your armor. This improves your mitigation. So you're taking less damage per attack. That first stat that comes right off the top is, they hit you for 100,000, you mitigate 60% of that. 60,000 of that damage just goes away. This research boosts that mitigation a little bit. So maybe now you're mitigating 62%, 65%, and now more of that damage isn't even going to your shields or your hull. Good things to work on improving. They do take 2 to 3 days to get. Enhanced piercing here is offensive. This is lowering their mitigation by improving your shield piercing, your accuracy, your armor piercing. Same way. Officer conditioning boosts the stats of all your officers. This is good twofold. The stats on your officers help boost the strength of your ships. A number of abilities that officers have trigger off of, like Spock, for example, says he does X of thing based on the total defense of all the officers on your ship. So if you boost their stats through research like this, now he's getting a better benefit to his officer ability because your officers have higher stats. The other benefit is to away team missions, since away teams always have a primary stat that they trigger off of. So boosting it through research is going to get you better results. Hostile tactics does more damage to hostiles. Armada tactics does more damage to armadas. Thorough scanning gives you more experience points to your ship when you kill stuff, so you can level up ships faster when you tier them up. This will become a lot more useful later on when you start getting into G3 and G4 ships that take tens of thousands, or in some cases millions, of experience points per level. And you don't suddenly start killing bigger things and, oh yeah, instead of getting 200 experience points, you get 20,000 experience points. Well, you need 2 million, so it's okay. You still need 2 million, but you're still only getting like 1,200 or 1,500 per kill. So it takes you a lot longer. So if you can improve this, that'll help you level up your ship faster. Cargo security is a great one. This is protected cargo. Some of these, of course, are ops locked, like all your other researches, but getting access and being able to upgrade cargo security here, um, boosting your protected cargo, always important. I mentioned earlier that there were, with the Meridian, you have access to that extra refinery, which turns the ISO emulsion that you get from refining your 1-star, 2-star, and 3-star into a different resource called ISO resin. That's this. This particular research, there's 4 researches that this uses. Increases damage dealt in PvP when defending, so when somebody attacks your ship, you're going to do more damage against them. This one just reduces the damage that you take in PvP when whether you're attacking or defending. You've got this one out here that boosts the max cargo capacity, giving your ships more cargo space, which will help when you're, it'll help for all survey ships, so it'll help mostly for base raiding. So when you're raiding their bases, now you're getting a bigger scoop each time. And this does go up quite a bit here. And the last one is these close encounters. Increases the damage when you're attacking or defending on a mining node or a capture node. So the capture nodes are in the territory fights for PvPs, but mining node is also a big one too, because if you're attacking somebody who's on a 0 node or over their protected cargo, you're going to have a higher base damage. Or if your miner is on a mining node and you happen to go over protected cargo and someone attacks you, you're going to do more damage back to them. There's a chance maybe they won't kill you, depending on what kind of ship you have. So that's what those things are for. These whole section out here, these are some amazing benefits, some great efficiencies that you'll get to, improving crystal gas and ore costs for research, lowering those costs, lowering the cost of your ship upgrades, crystal gas and ore. Very important research, making those things cost less. Same thing with construction for your buildings, making your buildings cost less crystal gas and ore. Some of these buildings are going to cost tens of thousands. So being able to do these researches to lower that cost, ship upgrades, are going to start costing 2,000-3,000 things per component. So being able to lower these costs 20-30% is really going to make a difference. This is a tree definitely worth focusing on. If I haven't made that point clear enough already, this is incredibly valuable. Probably one of the most valuable research trees you can have. It might be the most valuable. This and the Outlaw tree are pretty much neck and neck on that, but I think this one actually wins out because there's more upgrades here that are universally helpful. And I think the Outlaw tree has some that are universally helpful and then some that are specific to the Botany Bay and the Stella. And eventually you'll get out here with things like repair cost, things that improve the parsteel, titanium, and dilithium costs of things. So when you have buildings that cost millions or even billions of resources, or when you get into the 50s, some of them start costing trillions to upgrade. Being able to lower those costs through these, very important. And then here, this is one that lowers the speed. So instead of taking 2 days or 5 days or 10 days, it'll be a little easier. And again, when you get to the higher levels, you have building upgrades that'll take 200, 300 days to upgrade for some stuff. If you think I'm joking, let's see if I can find one that I could upgrade. Hey, right here. Level 43 scrapyard. That's 86 days. And it takes 11 billion par steel to upgrade. And that's just the scrapyard. There, that one's 100 days. That one costs 3,700. 4-star uncommon crystal. Things get very expensive. Things get very time consuming as you get to the higher levels. It really happens 40 plus. There's a huge jump in terms of time and cost when you get above ops level 40. So while you are at the lower ops levels, be sure to take advantage of your time and be sure to get these researches done as they become available. They are level locked. Like all researches, they won't let you unlock it and or tier it up until you get into the 30s. But just make sure you've got other stuff in this tree done to improve your ship stats, and then so you're ready to also move into this as you can to start making everything else cheaper. Ooh, that was a lot, I know. It's a new tree. Want to give a little more depth to it. The other tree that kind of opens up around this time is the Starship tree. This was also just newly added to the game when the Cerritos was released. These first half of research is here. All of this stuff that's not Cerritos related. Everything with the Cerritos is here at the end. The Cerritos requires Ops 36 to build. So do the researches that are related to it. These all require Ops 36. So you can ignore this stuff for a while. All of this stuff over here used to be in the Galaxy tree. They took this whole little section out when they added the Cerritos, I think in like March, and then created this tree, March of 2022, if you're watching this later, and moved everything over here, or April. Must have been April that they added the Cerritos with lower decks. Anywho, some great researches in this tree. Discovery range, this will come in handy later, but you can't do anything about that until the 30s. You can making your jumping a little bit more efficient in terms of how much mycelium it costs. Not super important just yet, neither is impulse speed. Right now, you'd probably want to focus on spending your spore drive components on leveling up your ship and tiering it up a little bit, get it up a couple tiers, because you do get better payouts from the refinery. The Meridian, like I said, the Vidar, which we'll get to, and the Discovery refineries, the Cerritos refinery, those are all based not on your ops level, but on the tier of your ship. So they kind of force you to keep working on those ships. The Latinum Rush with the Devore as well, if I didn't mention that one. They all kind of, and the Devore Fisha. The benefits you get from them are all based on the tier of the actual ship. So you do have to kind of work on the ship itself, and that's a little more important at this stage of the game than worrying about these researches. You're going to want to get these eventually, but maybe not just yet. You want to focus on the actual ship first. Maybe closer to Ops 30, we'll start worrying about doing some of this stuff. Devore's great. Boost your Devore. Boost your mining speed, so you mine Latinum faster. Boost your cargo capacity, so you get more protected cargo on your Devore. It'll also, this applies to the base, makes the base higher, so then your officers who add protected cargo on top of it, it improves their benefit as well. But here's a bunch of researches regarding to the Franklin for killing swarms. These first couple that you can do, you get these at like 27, 28. These are just going to improve your damage, your mitigation, lowering their dodge, so your damage gets through more. But what I wanted to focus on here is this one right here, the frequency modulator cost efficiency. There's only 5 levels, starts at 20%, goes all the way up to 60%. It's a very big cost reduction to the number of frequency modulators that you will need. In order to upgrade this, they make you upgrade this. You kind of have to flop back and forth between the two of them. The Franklin is going to become incredibly valuable to you. going to start getting more and more valuable the closer you get to Ops 30, 32 in that range. At the lower levels, your regular warships are still just as good, if not better, than the Franklin if you haven't leveled it up and upgraded it quite a bit and done the research and stuff, been able to do the research for it yet. Your regular warships are going to be just as good at killing the swarm hostiles, if not better. But once you start getting 28, 30, 32, that really starts to turn the other way. If you happen to build an Explorer like the Centurion at 28, you can stretch it a little further because you can use the Centurion. At least will have the combat triangle advantage as opposed to something like a Bortas or a Legionary that's actually going against the triangle, making it a little harder. But the Franklin certainly gets a very valuable benefit to that, to killing swarms. It's also incredibly expensive to upgrade components for. Let me give you an example. My Franklin is currently tier 5 out of 9. Each of these weapon components here is 168,000, 169,000 we'll call it. Frequency modulators. These are what you get from killing the swarm hostiles and from completing and doing your dailies. To take the ship from tier 1 all the way through to tier 9, which you'll want to do, you'll want to max it out. That's how when you get to Ops 35, you'll be able to scrap the ship and get the Franklin A for free. Huge benefit to the Franklin A. Way more damage, an additional refinery that gives you a lot more resources than what you're used to getting from just the Franklin refinery, which, to be honest, really isn't that good. The Franklin itself really is underpowered compared to everything else later in the game, which is why they created the Franklin A that you can scrap it for, and that's really its primary purpose at this point in time. It's to hold you over until you get to 35 and you can scrap it and get the Franklin A. But to level this ship up from tier 1 to tier 9 will take you, base cost, 20 million frequency modulators. If you do the research and max that research out, you can drop it from 20 million down to about 12.5 million. Huge savings. To put it in perspective, from doing my 3 daily missions to kill swarms, I get 13,000 frequency modulators. That's the reward from the mission. For killing the stuff that I have to actually kill, I get another 5,000 to 7,000 frequency modulators, which means I get 20,000 a day only doing the basics, not doing any additional grinding. 20,000 a day, I need 12.5 million. That is nearly 700 days, it's over 600 days that it would take me of just doing the basics to finish that. So I am going to have to do extra trips, extra hostile grinding, getting extra resources and things to speed that along. If you had to do it at 20 million because you don't have the efficiency research, you're talking about like 1,000 plus days. I would add an extra year onto your grind. And what a grind it is. So again, efficiency. Anytime you can do an efficiency research, you really much want to do it. But the Franklin one does make a huge impact. Just to give you an example of why I talk about, it probably won't, it'll show me some of these. So the biominerals here, these are not very good. This one right here, the swarm biominerals at Ops 28, I convert 100 of these, I get 25,000 dilithium. Looking at the higher level account, these do cap out. When I get to in the mid 30s, this will reach its max. It won't change anymore, and I'm still only getting 75,000 plus another 200,000 in tokens. 275,000 dilithium is all I'm getting. Looking at what I get at the higher level, well, that's 11 million plus another 18 million in tokens per day. So that'd be 29 million total. compared to 275,000. Huge difference. How much par steel? 1 million plus another 6 million in tokens here. 7 million in par steel at the highest capacity for these basic regular Franklin biominerals. Or Franklin A materials getting me 1.1 billion par steel per day for having the Franklin A, doing the extra daily, getting these advanced biotics, and being able to do these extra refineries. The whole purpose of the Franklin A is to get you through the swarms, but you have to get it to level 41. You have to get it to tier 9. You have to level it up to at least level 41, and then you can scrap it at ops level 35 to get the blueprints for the Franklin A so you can build that. Building the Franklin A gives you 2 additional dailies and also gives you the secondary refinery. When you're using the Franklin A to kill swarms as well, you also get 3 points per kill instead of just 1, so you have to kill less things. Instead of having to kill 50 things, you have to kill, 17 instead of 50. So it cuts down on your daily grinding as well. Faction research. Nope, nothing going on there with factions. More researches, because that's where this whole section seems to go. The outlaw tree. The Stella research is right here. This is what you need to hit in order to be able to unlock the Stella and build the ship at Ops 27. You do not get the ship from this research like you do with other ones. It only gives you the ability to get it and do it, as well as giving you additional damage, and the Stella fires more. You get extra shots when you're fighting Eclipse enemies. By unlocking the Stella research, you also need to have this unlocked so you can get into all these other trees back here. Let's go back to this account so you can see it better. With the Stella research, when you do the Stella and unlock this, and you complete Anarchist Weapon, which you have to get through the Outlaw store, or the Rogue Faction store, it will give you one of these alpha particles. It only gives you one when you finish Anarchist Weapon, so you have to pick which of the 2 paths you want to do. When you get high enough and you get this Eclipse Defenses completed, it will give you another alpha particle so you can circle back and do the other half and get the other researches unlocked. Like I mentioned, this requires Ops 31 to unlock, so you're going to be stuck for a few levels with whatever tree you picked. I went the bottom half because crystal building efficiency is pretty good. I also like giving the Stella more hull health and more shield health so the ship survives longer, as opposed to the top half up here, which is more weapon damage and faster warp speed. I figured these 2 benefits, like weapons are probably better than hull health, but shield health is better than warp speed. So I went the bottom half here. I have a whole separate video that I uploaded about a week or 2 ago that's just on the Stella, so be sure to go watch that when you get to 26 or 27 and you're trying to figure out exactly how to get that done. I think that's about it for the researches. In your faction store, you've got your Augment store, and we've got our Rogue store. We'll talk a little bit about these. Your Augment store. This is your con group. This particular store, you want points. You want to improve this, just like all of your other researches, or your other factions, because it gives you access to better things. The higher level you are, the better the stuff that you get. So you want to keep making sure you do both your types of data to get both augments improved. The higher you get access to better officers. You know, when you first start out, this one just has like Katie and Otto in it, and then you add Joaquin to it, then you add Marla, and then you add Joachim to it, and when you get high enough, Khan will also become an option here that you'll have a chance of getting shards for. And then as you also get up higher, you unlock this second box, which has Navi, Pan, and Rima in it. This is going to be a great one, not just to level up to get these officers who have interesting abilities. Pan is probably the best of this group because he has the boost to impulse speed, so he's another speed crew. That'll be very helpful for you. He does have the downside, his cap of adding a hull breach to your own ship for 3 rounds. So he's putting a hull breach on you, which means that when your opponent hits you with critical hits, you're taking more damage. But Navi and Rima over here, these guys trigger off of their different benefits when your ship has a hull breach on it. You're doing more critical damage, you're improving your deflection, you're improving your chance of getting a critical hit or your damage output as well. So they do, it's an interesting little package there with that. Their biggest benefits are twofold. One, you get about 8 shards of pull. So these guys tend to move and level up pretty quickly, and you're going to get them the maximum number of shards collected, which means that this will then become a daily resource for you to get transporter patterns. Get about 600 transporter patterns per day once you get all 3 officers maxed out. Takes about 1,000 transporter patterns per shard for an epic officer, so 600 a day, about 4,000 a week. You can get 4 epic officer shards per week. Doesn't seem like a lot, but it will add up. It'll help you unlock certain officers. It'll help you tier up certain officers. It'll give you an additional resource with which to win officer leaderboard events without spending other recruit tokens, being able to just use this stuff for doing some data mining. So this one is a good one to do your both reputations, to improve your reputation as quickly as you can. The Rogue faction, which you get access to and unlock at 27, so that way you can do your Stella stuff. You do not want to level up quickly. This one is the opposite of all the other trees and all your other instincts in the game. As you level this up, the cost for doing the turn-ins goes up significantly, and the reward that you get for the turn-in goes up minimally. So, for example, the directive rep and credits bundle right here. At where I am right now, it costs 4,400 of these Eclipse security codes. I get 50 uncommon directives, I get 80 rogue credits, and then I get 720 reputation to improve my reputation. So basically for 4,400 of these, I get 50 directives, and I get 80 rogue credits. We jump back over to my high-level account here for a second, and we go look at our factions. Now I'm maxed at this, at Ops 45, directives, reps, and credits. I still only get 50 Eclipse directives. I get 530 rogue credits, but it cost me 300,000 of these Eclipse security codes per day to turn in. Incredibly more expensive, same number of directives. I get rare directives now because my reputation is higher. We'll circle back to that. and 530 credits, as opposed to 60 or 70 or 100 credits that I was getting back here. I was getting 80. So this one you kind of want to go a little slower on. Do the directive bundle here. Get your directives, get your rogue credits. You're going to need these to do things like get your Stella blueprints, get your research credits. Eventually you will use it to get these research tokens in here as well. There's also a few missions and things that you can buy with the rogue credits. But this second one here, this exchange heist loot one, which is a little bit of credits and a big chunk of reputation, I would recommend avoiding this one for quite a while, because you don't want your reputation to go up very quickly. You want it to go slowly in the beginning. You want to drag your feet on this one. You want to be able to level up your Stella a few times, do your Stella scrapping mechanism, get your Stella particles, do some research to improve your ship before moving on. You do have to level up your reputation to unlock the rare uranium that you need to get your Stella above level 20. It switches from requiring uncommon uranium to requiring rare uranium at level 20. And then when you get to level 35, it's going to also change again, and it's going to require epic uranium, which will also require your reputation level to be much higher to get access to the epic. You'll have time for that stuff later. It's not like you're going to be level 28 with like a maxed out Stella crushing everybody. The majority of the points and strength from the Stella come from the research, not from the level of the ship. So being able to complete all of those researches, many of which are level locked, is going to take you a while to do it. Ooh. Hopefully that also makes sense. I'm going to take a quick water break, give you guys an opportunity, if you haven't already, to subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave any comments below about things that you may have found helpful so far or things that you would like more information about. I'd be more than happy to try to answer those questions in the comments. Cheers. All right, last section, the fun part, the part you guys have all been waiting for, ships. Let's talk about some ships. So, at Ops 25, you get access to a new starship called the Vidar. You also get access to the Meridian as well. The Meridian is a very specific Isogen mining ship. Like the Devore, it gets a huge benefit and bonus for mining Isogen. The Meridian is currently only available... We'll talk to the Vidar. I circled back. I forgot the Meridian was first. The Meridian is currently only available through event stores that happen every 3 to 4 months during the end of story arcs. We'll have one of those coming up here in a little bit. They run, like I said, every 3 to 4 months. So there's usually about 3, possibly 4 a year, depending on how they... So you're only going to be able to get access to the Meridian at specific times. When the event stores come up, if you don't have a Meridian, you should make that a priority. If you have, if you're high enough level to get one. Some people have 2 Meridians. There's a handful of people I know that have 3 Meridians. I don't think you need 3. You definitely need 1. A second one, helpful, but maybe not an urgent need. Maybe something you could work on slowly and get a second one. I only have 1, and I feel like I'm doing pretty good. But I know people who do have 2, or people who have 2 obviously do better in terms of mining. But I feel like I can keep up pretty good with just 1. But do take advantage of this when it becomes available. The Vidar. The Vidar is another ship that is sourced 2 ways. One is the event stores that you see, again, like the Meridian, at the end of every 3 to 4 months. The second way is through Cosmic Cleanup, which, thank the Lord, is now every Saturday. For those of you watching this video in the future, Cosmic Cleanup used to only be the Saturdays during the Battle Pass, so we only got it 3 times a month. And if a month had 5 Saturdays and the calendar fell right, we still only got it 3 times a month. It has now been changed as of July 2022 to every Saturday. So instead of taking 13 to 14 weeks to unlock the Vidar, the Discovery, the Franklin, you can get them in 10 weeks. Much better. Much better improvement, better quality of life. Thank you, Scopely, for making that change. The Vidar is, like the Franklin, a super ship for killing Borg probes. However, the Vidar by itself will eventually... It does tier up and it does have other benefits outside of just killing Borg probes. This ship will become an incredible ship for hunting OPC miners. It is an interceptor, so it is very fast, and it has a very good cargo capacity. Let me give you an example. My Vidar has 450,000 cargo capacity. This is great for hunting OPC miners because it's an interceptor. It has impulse speed 134, which is pretty solid. You can also get a benefit from putting an impulse crew like Pan, who adds 20%, and then you give them synergy, make that benefit even higher. You can get this impulse speed up to 170, 180, or sometimes over 200. You're going to move fast through systems. You're going to find opposing players' miners. You're going to hit them before they even know that you're there. And you're going to get away from other ships when they show up to try and kill you. Most other ships, when they show up to try and kill you. You're going to be able to run away and warp out of town. It does also have the big benefit of killing Borg probes, which we'll get to in just a second there. The Vidar also does have some specific research to improve a couple of its abilities. It's here in the Starship tree. There's a Prime research that doubles its cargo capacity, so I do not have this on my main account. It's only available through the store by buying it. It's a $50 upgrade. And I didn't really feel the need to spend $50 to improve my cargo capacity when it was already 400,000. To pump it up to over 800,000. That's up to you if you feel like you want it. But there are these 2 other ones, Prime Borg rewards. These are useful. Again, more so at the higher levels where you may have access to this material, possibly from scrapping something. Possibly just from eventually the refinery when you get above 41, 42. You can start getting epic stuff, I think at 42. Maybe it's 44. Anywho. You start getting extra rewards from the Borg refinery. And this one here also gives you extra rewards for the active nanoprobes. If we go look on our high level account. I don't have the Vidar yet on my lower level account. It's only been 7 weeks that I've been accumulating Cosmic Cleanup tokens. So I still need 3 more weeks before I can unlock it. So looking at my higher level account, Borg Tech down here, this is what's in the Borg refinery. You have reputation gains. You have faction credits. There's something here for the antiques. If you happen to find one of these very rare Ferengi assimilated miners, they show up every 4 to 6 hours, kind of like scouts for faction credits. You have the ability here to get these latinum cells and transwarp tokens, which give you access to very specific systems for mining in Borg space. Sometimes you get some tokens here, sometimes you just get some ship XP. But you have to get this Latinum Antique, which only drops from killing a very specific target. They're very hard to find. Like I said, instead of looking like a battleship in Borg space, they will have the mining icon. When you build the Vidar, you will get 2 transwarp tokens per day. They will show up here in your regular store. You can collect them. You can only have 8 as your maximum capacity at any time. So you have to either spend below 8 in order to claim more. If you spend down to 7 and then claim your 2, it will let you go to 9, but you won't get your next day's rewards until you spend them both. If you happen to gain access to these systems, there's a variety of systems. They're all behind these little transwarp gates here that you can see, different lower level systems. And the bennies, the alpha ones are... Now there's a couple different sectors. They're all around here. Here we go, up here. These are the 25s, the 26s. These are the 28s, and then these are 31, 32, and 33. They did just add also a few systems recently over here in Romulan space. Here are a couple additional 33s. 33 is currently the highest that they've added to the game. So players of every level above, the mid-30s are all hunting the same things. 33s to do events, to do their mining, so they can do their refine. So they did add a few more 33 systems here. We've asked for higher level systems than that, so maybe some 36s. We'll see if maybe that'll be a future event where the Borg get, a boost and possibly come back. But in these systems, which require a transwarp token to go to, and as you can see, it'll tell you it's a cost, it'll tell you how many you have, and ask you if you still want to go. This is what Borg space looks like. So you've got all these Borg probes flying around. Like I said, the Ferengi miner will have the mining symbol next to it. And they really only spawn every 4 to 6 hours, and there's only one in the system. So if somebody finds it, snags it, and kills it, you've got, half a day before it might come back. But these particular probes you kill, you see they've got very high level strength, which is why you need the Vidar to kill them, because you do, just like killing swarms, you do a lot higher damage, and they drop these inert nanoprobes. These are what you refine in the Borg store. You take these inert nanoprobes and you turn them into either charged nanoprobes or active nanoprobes. Charged nanoprobes have 2 uses. The first is for upgrading the Vidar itself. Much like the Discovery uses the spore drive components to upgrade itself, and it's a limited resource, the Vidar uses these charged nanoprobes to upgrade the ship components. And you will need quite an extensive amount of them to upgrade the Vidar from Tier 1 to Tier 9. The active nanoprobes, these are used to upgrade Borg officers. Your 2 of 11, 5 of 11, 11 of 11, all those Borg officers that you have will require these active nanoprobes to upgrade. And they can start to cost pretty crazy amounts. The epic officers, Tier 3 to Tier 4, will cost you somewhere around 500,000 of these. And the conversion rate for this is at Tier 9 at max, and with the double refinery bonus. That's why it's gold, because I have the prime, I have the double refinery bonus. I convert 28,000 inert nanoprobes into 2,400 active nanoprobes per day. Well, if I need 500,000 and I get 2,400 a day, that's what, like 200 days? Now, you do get active nanoprobes other ways, sometimes in things like the Battle Pass or through events rewards when they do a Borg event. But yeah, otherwise you're basically upgrading some of those Borg officers like once a year. So being able to do this as early as possible also comes in handy, but it is a lot more of mining and refining, harvesting, grinding. It's grinding. That's really what it is. Independent credits. With the double refinery output, I get 240 independent credits per day. Again, independent credits, very low sourcing. This is, maxed out. This is tier 9, this is the double refinery output. I have the prime. My Vidar is maxed. I get 240 per day. To upgrade rare officers to their max level takes like 13,000. To upgrade Khan and officers like Mud and Eurydice to their max levels will cost 25,000 independent credits. That's 100 days worth of collection if I'm just doing it like this to take one officer up that final tier. So again, it's something that's worth sort of you're going to be doing this. This is just something you're going to be doing. So the earlier you get your Vidar unlocked and upgraded, the better these refinery options are going to get rolling here. So you can start getting those resources that you're going to need. To give you an example, the officers that I have, I can upgrade all of these officers. These officers are maxed. They're only level 20 because I can't afford the independent credits needed to tier them up. Because Rima costs 11,000 credits to go to his max level. That's what these other rare guys do as well. Eurydice, she would take me 9,000, and she's not even going to be maxed yet. When I get to Khan and them, that next tier is like 25,000. But it's all these independent officers because independent credits are really not sourced very well in the game. That do all kind of get log jammed on you, and you're going to have to be real picky and choosy about which ones you want to upgrade. Oh, fun fact, Borg officers also require, the higher level ones, in addition to requiring those nanoprobes, also require independent credits. So when you want to upgrade and tier up some of these great Borg officers, like 5 of 11, 6 of 11, or your mining officers, the first level, they might just require some nanoprobes. But these guys right here, they're going to require a lot of nanoprobes and a lot of independent credits. Something to look forward to. So all that was to say, getting the Vidar will take you 10 weeks through Cosmic Cleanup, and then when you do get access to it, you're going to want to spend early on these nanoprobes, getting the charged nanoprobes, and working on upgrading the ship. It does cost other resources as well. It is an interceptor. It does take crystal to upgrade it. The downside, the other benefits over here with the reputations, when your ship is maxed, this is what you'll focus on doing every day, because you're still going to want to convert these nanoprobes so you can get your independent credits. I get 15,000 a day. This costs 8,000, gives me 7,000 left, which basically lets me do another 8,000 over here. So one day a week I have to skip one of these, but it's good for 600 credits. And again, that's with the double refinery prime bonus. But 600 faction credits a day. At the higher levels, you need so many faction credits to unlock ships. The 42 uncommons cost like 200,000. I think it's like 175 to 200,000 faction credits to get the blueprints for it. The level 46 rare ships that I'm progressing toward right now cost almost 600, like 500 and something thousand faction credits if you have to buy all the blueprints that way. That's why we talk about the away team store as being such a great resource for supplementing ship blueprints, because of the high cost of faction credits and the inability to get them in large amounts other than buying them. But this through the Borg store is another good way to get that. And as you're working on leveling up your reputation, you could also convert here. It's not quite as high, but the reputation gain is 100,000 reputation once a day. And again, this is double output. Without the prime, you're getting 50,000 per day. 50,000 rep per day. It can add up, but by the time you've got your Vidar maxed and things like that, You're going to be getting a lot more reputation per hull run when you're grinding rep. You're going to be getting, 2, 3, 4 million per trip. So spending your resources for an extra 50,000 probably not going to be all that beneficial. We talked about the Stella. We talked about the Meridian. Let's focus on our faction ships. Let's switch back to the lower count for this one. So at Ops 26, you will gain access in your faction store. Well, actually, you can have it earlier than that. You can buy the blueprints earlier. But you can't build these first ships, the D3, the Legionary, the Mayflower. Mayflower, D3, Romulan is the Legionary. Until you get to Ops level, until you get to Shipyard 26. Cost 80 blueprints to build the ship. 125, well, 1250 basically for 10 times 8, 10,000 is what it costs. 10,000 faction credits to get enough blueprints to build one ship. The level 26 ships do not drop blueprints from hostiles. All of the other ships do, depending on the higher level of the hostile that you kill. If you kill stuff in the mid-30s, 34, 35, you might get them to drop some 28 ship blueprints. You kill stuff a little higher, you might get, 37, 38, you might get them to drop some stuff for the level 30 miners, etc. You start killing 40s and stuff, you might get a Burrell, which is a level 32 ship. But these don't drop anywhere else. There are a handful of missions when you get to 25, 26 that you can do that will give you a choice as a reward of ship blueprints for one of the 3 ships. I suggest picking the ship that you want and you're going to have the reputation to get the remaining blueprints from, sticking with it, doing all of them. You'll get like 20 blueprints total throughout the missions, 20 or 25. So that's basically a quarter of the way done. So you have less that you have to acquire through faction credits or the away team store. I do recommend at 26 getting either the Klingon or the Romulan blueprints for the D3 or the Legionary because they also have the cloaking ability. Federation doesn't have cloaking, with very limited exceptions. The cloaking will cost you another 6,300 to unlock. So any faction credits that you can save on ship blueprints from those missions or from the away team store will give you the ability to get the cloaking faster. When you have cloaking, you get an additional daily mission to kill things while cloaked. They give you this Tetrion radiation, which you get to use for more research. You thought we were done with the research tree. No, I fooled you. In the Galaxy tab, very far over here, are these researches that they've recently added based on cloaking that require these little Tetrions. The first one just makes your ship cloak for longer. Usually it's around 4 minutes to start. This starts adding to that. But the 2 after it, multi-spectrum shielding, have nothing to do with cloaking. These just increase your base shield health for all ships. And it starts at 60% and it scales up pretty quick. Same thing down here with ablative hull armor. Increases your hull health for all ships. Your warships, your miners, all of them. Getting a nice big boost just for using some of these Tetrions and some basic resources. No crystal, no ore, no gas, just Tetrions, dilithium, and tritanium. These researches are awesome, which is why you want to get a cloaked ship or a ship with cloaking so you can do the dailies to start acquiring these things. Cloaked Armada Obviation. I'm not familiar with this word. I might have to go look that up. Improves your damage against Armada targets while you are cloaked. So before your Armada is about to start and you're about to start attacking, you would engage your cloak, and then that would give you more mitigation. These ones here are specific to Klingon and Romulan ships. Can't get them to your Ops 30. This gives you more duration. So in addition to having this one gives you more. And then eventually you get to Cloaked Precision, which increases your critical hit damage that you do while cloaked. Also in the Starship tree. Is it in the Starship tree? There's another research. These are swarms. These are nanoprobes. This is Vidar. Well, this is awkward. But I feel like there's another research. And I just can't think of where it is. Alright. Maybe it's level locked. And maybe that's why I can't see it. I'm thinking of something higher level. Anywho, it wouldn't be till higher level anyway, but I think there's some more research you can do again with the extra cloaking stuff. We'll worry about that later on. The 28 ships, everyone will say, are significantly better, and they are absolutely right. So you don't want to push your level 26 ship, whichever one you decide to get. You don't want to push it too high up. Get it, tier 2, tier 3. Whichever one you pick. We're going to go by shipyard level so you can see these. So these are your 26s, your D3, your Mayflower, your Legionary. Based on different researches, you'll see the slightly different power. I have more Explorer and Battleship research done, which is why my Interceptors are a little weaker. The ship itself is also slightly weaker, the D3, I think too, but they're all pretty close to about the same stats. Pick one. I would again recommend D3 or Legionary, whichever reputation you're going to have to get access to the rest of the blueprints. And go that way. When you get to 27, you know what, let me circle back, because I did say this, that you're not going to want to invest too heavily in this, because compared to the 28s, there's a pretty big power difference here. The 28 ships, your Bortas, your Saladin, your Centurion, you can see their base power starts significantly higher. These cost more resources to upgrade them, but they do have a higher starting power. They will have a higher ending power. A maxed out Legionary Mayflower might only get to 900 or 1 million, whereas one of these ships here will get to about 1.5 million in your low 30s with your research and things like that. By the time you max it out, right around 33, 34, if you're lucky enough to do it sooner, awesome. But by that range, by the time you're ready to get your epic at 34, whichever one of these ships you pick, you should have close to maxed out already, and you'll probably be close to about a 1.5 million power. So it's a big upgrade over the 26 ships. So again, not worth going too crazy on. The other ships you do gain access to are these hijacked ships, which have similar power levels. 150, 190, 190, 150, 190, 190. These are acquired through the Outlaw faction, the Augment faction. These ships, ignore them completely. They have the same power level as the 26s. These are at 27. They cost additional resources to build and upgrade. These use the same plutonium that the Botany Bay uses. that type of stuff in order to build and in order to upgrade them. These ships are also not scrappable. So all of that crystal and ore that you're going to invest into the ship, you are not going to be able to scrap this ship later and get it back. These ships, whichever you will eventually invest more into, and when you scrap it, you will get G4 resources. There's been a lot of videos about talking about leveling up a Mayflower and scrapping it at Ops 34, which will give you 4-star resources, rares, that you can then use to get some of those prime researches for free. Yes, that is absolutely true. You are going to want to level one of these ships up later to do it. You'll get the first couple of tiers done early, kind of hold you over from 26 to 28 until you can get one of these bad boys. You'll use this for your cloaking daily to keep doing that, and when you get to Ops 34, you'll have done a lot more of that efficiency research that I was showing you in the territory tree, which will make upgrade, and the outlaw tree, which will make upgrading these ships a lot cheaper, so you can upgrade it and then scrap it and then get your prime researches done. I think that's about it. I know I've covered a lot. This video ran longer than I wanted it to, but, well, hey, I like to be detailed and I like to be thorough. Hopefully you've enjoyed everything. Please leave, like I said, comments down below. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, give me a thumbs down. Whichever button you hit, though, just leave a comment and explain why. Hey, I liked the video. I thought it was really good content. I like the way you present stuff. Hey, you thumbs down. The video was too long. You talk a lot too much. I appreciate the feedback. I understand I do. I know what I do. But I want to make sure I'm giving you guys as clear a picture as possible so you know what you're getting yourself into when you get to this section of the game. Thank you very much for watching. See you around the galaxy.